Hey, this template can help you tell the story of your A/B test to stakeholders, C-suite, or whoever. It can be just a colleague as well or a stand-up. But you can use this template as a way to help you narrow down what you need to talk about, and also not elaborate too much. There is an example right next to here, which we can go over, so I can explain you how this works. But here you have all the space to fill it in yourself. So we use the three act structure here, which is something from theater, movies, Hollywood, different types of stories, like Eastern stories from Japan or wherever, tend to have a very different structure, but our Western stories often follow this, but don't have to. But let's see how it works. So we have three acts. Act one consists of three parts. So we have the setup here, and this is where you will be talking about kind of the status quo of your website, your app, or maybe your team if the story is about something bigger, maybe the growth of your team. And then we have something called the inciting incident, which kind of is something that happened that made the hero, the team, you want to experiment this test. So it might be stakeholder pressure or a goal that you had with the company, but it might also be something that you found in data or research that's kind of thrown you into this new world where you want to experiment. Now, there is a place here where you can use a cliffhanger, and a very natural cliffhanger is actually a hypothesis, because you say, like, hey, we expect that if this and this happens, we will see an uplift in this and we'll measure this. But you actually don't know if that's going to happen. So it's kind of a perfect question that is still unanswered. So you can use this at the end of Act One, tell your hypothesis, which kind of creates a tension of, ooh, is this going to work out? Yes or no? Then we have the second act, and the second act is generally the meatiest part of a story. And you can talk about three obstacles. Maybe there were no obstacles at all. Maybe there were small ones that you can make a little bit bigger to add some tension. But anyways, it can be like technical issues, a long development backlog you had to wait for to get your A/B test built, other experiments prioritized. Can be a stakeholder that says, no, it's a no-brainer, let's just implement it. And maybe while running the test, you have the obstacle that the test had to be stopped 1 week earlier because of, who, God knows, but sometimes development releases something new that breaks your test. And then, it breaks. That's the and this can be then the end of Act Two, and you see the tension rises. So start with the smallest obstacle and then go further. If you have more than three obstacles, which sucks in real life, but maybe for your story, pick out the ones that create the best story. Otherwise, the story becomes very dreading and like, oh, this was bad and negative and la la la. A little bit is good, creates tension. Too much is not fun anymore. Then here you have kind of the point of no return between the second and the third act, and this can be maybe you thinking like, no, I have to continue this test, or just the thought that you spent so much time and energy, and there is no return. You can reinforce this at this point of your story. Then the act three is actually the closing of the story, and it might be that because of that obstacle before, that the test had to be stopped earlier, you still have enough data to prove your point. And maybe you say, okay, let's rerun this experiment in 2 weeks, for example. So that can be the wrap up of all the obstacles, and it gets all solved. And in the end, you want to create some kind of conclusion where you go back to this inciting incident, which might have been research that you found, some insight that you had. You refer back to that, and then what you do is you answer that, and you answer also your cliffhanger, your hypotheses. That's kind of your conclusion, and maybe you want to tell about next steps as well. So this is the end. Of course, there are no jokes in here or no funny things. Actually, see, there's some stuff missing here. That's fun. Anyway, doesn't matter. It's here, so you have it. So there's no jokes. Of course, you can start with something funny in the beginning and come back to that at the end, stuff like that. There is a lot of tricks, but this will definitely help you already to get your story, your A/B test listened to, and to make it stick in people's minds. So good luck.